She was born into silks, raised in marble halls, and promised to power. But behind the palace curtains, her fate was already sealed. She married her own uncle, not by choice, but by bloodline. And before she turned 22, she was gone. Forgotten. Buried. This is the horrific truth of the princess who was never meant to survive. And if you're drawn to royal stories that history tried to hide, don't forget to hit subscribe. She was born into two of the most powerful families in Europe, the Habsburgs and the Bourbons. Princess Maria Antonia of Naples and Sicily came into the world in 1784 with golden lineage and a genetic time bomb ticking inside her. Her mother was a Habsburg. Her father was her mother's brother. She was the child of an uncle-niece. Marriage, wrapped in royal robes, but born of an unholy alliance. No one questioned it. In fact, it was expected. In royal courts, purity of blood meant tightening the family tree, even if it meant breaking the child. From the moment Maria Antonia could walk, she was groomed, not for life, but for marriage. Her posture, her speech, even the way she blinked, was corrected to reflect a future queen. But behind the embroidery lessons and harp music was a fragile child. Her bones were delicate, her immune system weak. She often fell ill after long court ceremonies, and her tutors whispered that she tired too quickly for a princess of her age. But no one stopped. The role mattered more than the body. Because she wasn't raised to be healthy, she was raised to be useful. At just 17, Maria Antonia was married to Ferdinand VII of Spain, her own uncle. Not metaphorical, not distant. Her mother's younger brother. The match was celebrated as a political triumph, reuniting two branches of the same dynasty. But biologically, it was a disaster waiting to happen. The couple shared a web of common ancestors, Habsburgs, Bourbons, and beyond. What they didn't share was chemistry or health. He was cold, controlling, nearly twice her age. And she, already weak, was thrust into one of Europe's most demanding courts that the crown didn't protect her. It consumed her as Queen of Spain. Maria Antonia was draped in jewels, but suffocated by expectations. Her new husband, Ferdinand, was known for his rigid control and emotional distance. He rarely showed affection, and court life offered no comfort. Maria's body, already weakened by generations of inbreeding, began to break down further. She suffered frequent fevers, unexplained pain, and exhaustion. Physicians prescribed tonics. Priests whispered about divine punishment. But no one dared say the obvious. Her marriage was not just unnatural. It was killing her. The one duty Maria Antonia could not escape was motherhood. Despite her failing health, she was pushed to conceive as quickly as possible. Every month without pregnancy was met with worry. Every sign of bleeding was a disappointment. Behind palace doors, whispers began. Was she barren? Was it punishment for their bloodlines? The truth was simpler and darker. Her body was never meant to bear this weight. She was too frail, too ill, too young. But still she tried. And with every failed attempt, her spine bent a little more beneath the crown. By age 20, Maria Antonia's health was visibly unraveling. She could barely stand through long ceremonies. Her appetite vanished. Her eyes, once bright, became hollow. Some days, she couldn't rise from bed. Others, she forced herself through royal duties, sweating and trembling beneath layers of lace. Courtiers avoided her room, claiming it smelled of sickness. But doctors still gave vague answers. Nerves, weak constitution, melancholy. No one dared say it aloud, but everyone knew. This queen was dying in slow motion. And no crown, no prayer, no noble blood could stop it as Maria Antonia's health declined. Rumors filled the palace. Some said she had been poisoned by political enemies who feared her influence. Others believed it was witchcraft or divine punishment for marrying her own uncle. Even Ferdinand began to grow suspicious. He distanced himself, consulted secret advisors, and watched her with cold detachment. Maria, now wasting away, found herself isolated, not just by illness, but by fear. The girl who had once been paraded as the hope of two dynasties was now treated like a threat, or a ghost. In truth, no poison was needed. Her bloodline was the curse. Generations of cousin and uncle-niece marriages had twisted the Habsburg and Bourbon genes into a fragile coil. Maria Antonia suffered from respiratory issues, severe anemia, and likely undiagnosed tuberculosis, a disease that ravaged the lungs and slowly starved the body of air. She would cough through the night, often vomiting blood into cloth napkins, hidden from view. But still, she was expected to smile in public. She wore pearls over bruised skin, rouge over pallor, a crown over a body that was collapsing from within. To eye in her final year, Maria Antonia finally conceived. For the court, it was a miracle. For her, it was a death sentence. Her body, already brittle and fevered, could not sustain a full pregnancy. She was often confined to bed, unable to eat, racked by spasms and bleeding. The child, barely formed, was lost in a quiet, painful miscarriage. The palace covered it up. But after that, she never recovered. The dream of producing an heir, the very reason she had been married, was gone. And with it, any chance she had left at survival. By late 1806, Maria Antonia could barely breathe without assistance. Her skin was paper-thin, her limbs skeletal. She was kept in darkened chambers, away from visitors, her body hidden from the court that once paraded her. Only a few loyal attendants remained. Her husband visited rarely, some say not at all. And in those final days, there were no celebrations. No prayers that could reverse what years of inbreeding had carved into her bones. She was not dying of one illness, but of many, stacked like bricks in her chest, crushing her quietly. On May 21st, 1806, Maria Antonia took her final breath. She was just 21 years old. No royal parade honored her. No epic mourning followed. The court moved on quickly. Another alliance would be arranged, another bride selected. Her death was treated as an unfortunate tragedy, not the result of generations of dangerous decisions. But behind closed doors, her maids wept. They had seen the truth, not a weak queen, but a young girl trapped in a legacy that never gave her a chance. Her crown was heavy, her fate unbearable. Maria Antonia was buried in the royal monastery of El Escorial, Spain's sacred resting place for queens and kings. But her grave was quiet, tucked among others, with no grand monument or lasting tribute. Within months, her husband, Ferdinand VII, began plans to remarry, this time to another relative, again from within the same bloodline. It was as if she had never existed. Her dresses were stored, her portraits removed. The young girl who had once been the hope of dynasties was now just another body lost to royal duty. Maria Antonia's death was not an isolated tragedy. It was part of a pattern. A generation of royal daughters born into titles, but not protection. Their health was the price of political pride. Her passing should have shaken the dynasty. But instead, the cycle continued. More cousin marriages, more fragile children, more royal women sacrificed for alliances. Her life was used, her death ignored. She didn't die of mystery. She died of mathematics. A family tree wrapped too tightly around itself, until it broke the fruit it was meant to protect. The paintings of Maria Antonia still exist. Flawless skin, delicate features, the perfect royal wife. But those portraits lie. They don't show the cough, the blood, the loneliness. They don't show the child lost in silence or the crown that pressed into a skull too fragile to hold it. History painted her beautiful because beauty was easier than truth. But the truth is, she was born into a curse disguised as royalty. And her smile, so often captured on canvas, was never meant to last. It was painted on a face already fading. Maria Antonia never had a choice. Not in her birth, her marriage, or her death. She was created by dynasties that valued bloodlines over breath, alliances over health, and crowns over daughters. Her story isn't rare, it's just rarely told. She wasn't a tragic figure because she died young. She was tragic because she was never allowed to live. That she married her uncle. She tried to serve. She tried to survive, but in the end, the palace didn't kill her, the system did.